What if New Zealand beat the virus without even social distancing? And if we did it without most of us even wearing a mask? Well, let's reenact some scenes from the first lockdown and take a look. New Zealand is known as a success story for shutting down the spread of the virus, and our government have been celebrated internationally for their efforts. But I don't know about you guys, but during level 4 of the first lockdown, I remember lining up 2 metres apart outside of the supermarket, and I remember being 2 metres apart at the checkout, but all of the time in between that, I'm pretty sure we were breaking the social distancing rules pretty much all the time. For example, on my very first trip to the supermarket during level 4, when I got to the fruit and veggie section, I remember standing next to a couple, picking up and putting back the same apples, and we were standing right beside each other. It dawned on me around about then, is somebody watching this? But apparently nobody was. On other occasions, I remember reaching over people to get the oranges at the back of the tray, or kneeling down and filing through the bags of grapes or mushrooms with the other people beside me doing exactly the same thing. And I love squeezing my avocados too. I remember pushing my trolley past another person's trolley and then being shoulder to shoulder with those people for a few seconds until traffic cleared out of the way. In the lolly aisle where I like to get my chocolate, I'm watching people stand side by side as they gaze at the huge selection of candy and chocolates, sometimes for up to a minute, just pondering what kind of goodie they're going to take back to their family. And at Pack and Save, where I sometimes shop, you have to open the same refrigerator to get your milk and cream. And people were doing this again and again each time I went to do my shopping. But despite all of this touching the same handles and the same objects, except cash of course, New Zealand still managed to avoid a major outbreak during lockdown number 1. Which kind of makes the exploding case numbers in a place like Melbourne a wee bit of a mystery. Because if breaking the social distancing rules in New Zealand didn't matter anyway, then how come Melbourne had so much bad luck themselves? Are we still talking about the same virus? Or are the qualifications for defining a positive test different from country to country? If you remember Tanzania, the president revealed a papaya fruit and some goat samples returned with a positive test result, whereas back in April in New Zealand, over 400 people were tested in 2 different supermarkets and not one of those tests came back positive. Something to think about, folks. And with the New Zealand media giving hints that a second lockdown may be all but inevitable, maybe we need to question what kind of testing criteria they're going to use this time. Will it be the papaya positive testing method, or the let's make the New Zealand government look like heroes method? I know which one I want, but I suspect they'll choose the let's scare the shit out of everyone and push for our vaccination and contact tracing agenda method. And if they do that, then what about the junk food? If masks are coming in as well as other kinds of controls, are they going to do us a favour and ban all of the chocolates, candy, chippies and fizzy drinks as well? Because this is about our health, isn't it? If they do declare another lockdown and introduce these new controls the second time round, then demanding the manager of our local supermarkets ban all of these things might be essential. And maybe having all of their comfort food taken away from them will allow all the Karens and Aarons of this world to appreciate just how important freedom is for the rest of us. Because if they're not going to listen to us otherwise, then maybe we should protect them as much as possible. Then they might actually beg for their freedom. But then again, breaking the social distancing rules and not wearing masks in New Zealand and still managing to squash the virus in our country kind of raises the question as to whether or not social distancing and mask wearing etc. is even worth doing at all. Because if you're not policing everything, you're not achieving anything. Unless the virus only hangs out at the entrance and the checkout at the supermarket. Perhaps it's time to stop waiting for them to police us and to start actively pointing out to them why their restrictions could be meaningless. And bring your research with you. Seriously, New Zealand, we can do better.